Thanks for tuning in for another van build video. In this video, I'll talk a little bit about my window build. So the van had no windows in any of the rear walls or doors. My plan for a little bit of extra daylight and also some airflow, so part of my ventilation strategy, being able to get a cross flow, opening up a window and having the fan pull in fresh air versus pulling dead air from somewhere. So part of that plan is a window in the rear, and then eventually what you'll see another video of is me installing a window in the sliding passenger door. But what I installed here, it's an awning window. It's from Sierra Lawrence. Again, everything's going to be linked in the description as always. But what I'll show you here is the process of installing this window. Essentially, it involved cutting out the hole. Well, first finding the right gap in weather, and then a lot of work cutting out the hole, prepping the hole, and then mounting the window. Mounting the window wasn't particularly difficult once the rest of the steps were done. It was mostly about waiting for the right gap in weather to agree, as well as taking good precautions and spending some extra time afterwards to make sure that there were no loose metal shavings, essentially leaving the van clean. So that way, again, reducing the amount of metal shavings reduces the amount of potential spots for rust. So what you'll see in the video is me being really hyper aggressive and extra careful on my cleanup strategy, using some magnets and tarps to reduce the amount of places where the metal shavings could go when I was cutting out the hole for the window and getting everything cleaned up. Thanks for tuning in, and check out the rest of the video to see how this came together.
The first step in the process of mounting the window was to cover the cutting area with masking tape and then transfer the template onto the sheet metal to add my work. To contain any loose metal shavings as best as possible and simplify the cleanup process, I used a throwaway cloth tarp and magnets to hold the tarp to the surface of the van. The magnets also serve a dual purpose as they attract the metal chips to further ensure limited cleanup afterwards. Once I had everything ready, I pre-drilled target holes around the outline of my cutting pattern. These were large enough to fit the blade of my saw, but also serve as a guide for my cutting path, especially around the curves. As I was cutting, I would pause to add tape to where I've cut in order to hold the metal in place. This made the rest of the metal steadier for my work and made sure that the scrap metal wouldn't fall into or out of the van when the cutting was complete. I add the tape to hold this piece on both the inside and the outside surfaces, which is why it disappeared for short stints of time in the video. Finally, I use a mixture of files and sandpaper to prep the exposed metal surfaces for finishing and paint.
Here's a peek at the inside of the van while I'm finishing up the cutting for the window. Now, what I'm doing now is using a reciprocating multi-tool to cut off a little bit of these vertical supports on the top and bottom all the way around. And the reason I'm doing that is because the bracket that is going to fix the window to the van has a flange on it. So I'm cutting these up by about 1.5 centimeters, so that way the flange sits flush to the outer sheet metal all the way around, and I have a much better seal for my window to my van.
The last step in the process was to mount the window. I got some help from an awesome friend that held the window in place while I secured the mounting flange to the window.
So thanks for tuning in to another video in my van build series. I didn't talk about this before, but one of the main reasons why I chose this style of window, it's an awning open style, which means that even if it's raining, I can open the window and I won't have any risk of water getting inside, versus some of the different slider type windows that I saw that were maybe a little bit different, maybe possibly better size. My passenger door is going to be a slider open, but this one, again, wanted the awning so I can always have some airflow. And also the position of this window, which you'll see later on in my build, this is approximately where my bed's going to be. So being right next to the bed, I can crack the window for some extra airflow. Something I really like doing, sleeping in my own home right now. So why not continue that into my camper home? So thanks for tuning in and watching the video. If you've got any comments and thoughts, please throw them down in the comment section. Throw the video a like. Of course, extended details on what I used and the links to everything are going to be in the description. Subscribe and check out more of my videos coming soon. Thanks, and see you soon.